Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of DEGA Spaces Podcast, your gateway to the metaverse. This is your host, Carlos Rene, and I'm very excited for the conversation we have coming up today. There's very interesting subjects that I'm going to touch base with my guests today, Charles and Bata. Charles, can you do an intro for the audience, please?
Sure. Hello, guys. Happy holidays. Whatever you celebrate, my name is, during this time of the year, my name is Charles Mbata. I'm the founder of this exciting project, Bionic. I'm also a community builder, also a co-founder of Nigeria NFT community, NDAO, one of the largest NFT communities out there. And, looking forward to the discussion today with Carlos. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So there's one very keen aspect of the conversation today that we're gonna do a deep dive on, which is the whole the whole aspect of what Web3, crypto, and blockchain mean for emerging markets. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Charles, what is it that brought you to the decentralized movement?
Very good question, Carlos. So I've been interacting, engaging with artists, especially people from, my neck of the woods, my upbringing, because I was born and raised in Nigeria, West Africa. And I always collected artwork that resonated with me, being from some of the images I saw growing up, like masquerades from my childhood, or just tropical, vibrant, colored, artistic artworks that are out there. So I've been collecting some of this work from some of my friends, some of the strangers, people that I resonate with their work. So a few of the artists one of the artists that I who happens to be a very close friend of mine, we went to high school together, Chuma Anabado. He's a very brilliant artist, traditional artist, digital guy out there. And he, in the process of collecting, I buy a lot of work from him and similar artists out there. So in the process of talking to him, he told me mentioned NFT to me. This was many years ago, like three years ago. He mentioned NFT to me, and I was like, what is NFT? He's like, he's got to be putting his work as an NFT. And, I was like, well, what's an NFT? Then I started, looking into it. But prior to that, I've always been a believer of, I always buy some of the coins that are out there. The Doges, the Shibas, made some money off of, lost some money off of it. So I've always been a believer in the cryptocurrency, technology and the ability to create coins and be able to create value centered around community growth. So when he told me about NFTs 2-3 years ago, and I was like, man, what's that? Then I started looking into it, and then soon after that, he put his work on there, and I was able to follow him. We kind of learned the journey together, and I was able to buy his work as an NFT instead of a physical collection, and that blew our minds because it's physically over there in Africa, Nigeria, West Africa, and I'm over there in the United States, and we're able to make that transaction without any high art studio or anybody. It was just a peer-to-peer transaction, and so that's when everything came surreal to us. We were like, man, so we could do this just between ourselves, and I own his digital work, and he's able to get his ETH. At that point, because we were buying an ETH, and then the light bulbs went off. I was like, man, imagine how much this can impact a lot of the creatives out there, how this can impact their lives. And now the true meaning of the technology, how you can apply in a real life, kind of resonated with me. And then the light bulbs went off, and from there, it's just been building a community, trying to educate people, onboard people into this process of how to make your work on the blockchain. And then the history, I started speaking about events, started attending events, and just being a cheerleader for the technology, because it's something that I really believed in, and I saw it kind of work firsthand, being an art collector. So that's how come I kind of dipped my toe into actual NFT. But prior to that, I've always been an explorer with cryptocurrencies and buying the token and the coins that are out there. So that's the interesting story of how I kind of started dipping my foot into the space. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you make a very good point there, in the sense that basically what brought you to the digital asset space was culture. essentially, right? Because you felt a connection with this artist. And when you mentioned the masquerades from your childhood, that actually brings back memories for me as well. I'm originally from Honduras and from the Caribbean coast of Honduras. And there, as you may know, in Latin America, we have communities that are mixed between African descent and some of the natives here in the Caribbean. So there's a lot of the cultural aspects, and we have little masquerades, events there. There's a tribe particularly called Garifuna. They're an ethnicity across most of Central America, and they have many celebrations, very colorful and beautiful celebrations with masks. They make some of the best food here. So yeah, it also brings back memories for me. And, you know, one of the things that really stood out for me when I had the first conversation with you was that you said that you believed that it was in emerging markets where blockchain and crypto could really make a difference. Could you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Absolutely. Brilliant question. And I would like to maybe get an opportunity to taste some of the food. You know, I'm a foodie myself when the opportunity comes. But yeah, interesting question. So, you know, I'm going to give you one analogy to kind of show you, and I'll come back to it a bit, because it's you know, most people are not paying attention to what's happening. So growing up there, you know, spending some time in Africa and Nigeria, it's kind of some things happen that I think I'm seeing it repeating itself, and also so back in the days when we had the rotary telephones, the dial-up telephone lines. So people in Africa and Nigeria, for you to be able to own a landline, what we call a quote-unquote landline telephone, where you you dial the number, you have to be very wealthy, Carlos. Back then, you know, we were privileged, or we had access to them at the moment, but the general masses didn't have access to it. But what happened is telecom boom happened in Africa and Nigeria for the most part. When I'm speaking generally from a Nigerian perspective, but telecom boom happened about 10 years ago. And now what you see is that from a few people, a handful of people owning landline, to the mass generation owning cell phones and being able to communicate. So I bring that point up because really just because now the average Joe, an average individual, an average young kid has a cell phone on their hands. And that's how come we're seeing the high adoption of cryptocurrency in places like Africa, Nigeria specifically being one of the highest adopters of cryptocurrency. So, and what we're seeing that's going to happen for that is that for the fact that they are, you know, adopting at that higher rate, you know, not believing much in their fiat currency that is losing value by the day. They are smarter, they are wiser in the sense that they feel like if they hold their value, their money in crypto, that gives them, they could transfer and buy fiat and use it for what they need to do day-to-day purchasing and feeding, but they keep majority of their reserves, not in the banking system, but in USTD and stable coins. So the reason why is because they see value in the technology at the core. You know, they are now able to interact with the rest of the world, being able by putting their work on the blockchain without anybody kind of filtering it and saying this is what it should look like, maybe from a Western media perspective. So that's empowering them, and that's why, you know, that empowerment, we haven't seen that before in history, and that's why, you know, we are very excited about what's to come. And that those emerging markets are growing by the number. And if you look at the data, if you look at the amount of people, young adults that are there that are adopting cryptocurrency at the rates, it's enormous. So that puts us on a lot of, gives us a lot of advantage in terms of, you know, scalability. When you have a product that resonates with this crowd, you could actually count on them using this. If there's a use case for it, they were going to use it because they already have the infrastructure is there, the cell phone networks are there, the internet is there. It's just a matter of you bringing a product that has a use case over there. And again, what else do we know about some of this part of the world? there's a lot of infrastructure that are not there in terms of development, right? So
Yep.
if Web3 projects, blockchain projects that bring about development, that's a guaranteed success that they're going to adopt it, because some of those developments are not there. Unlike the Western part of the world where they've seen all the tech, all the development, but this parts of the world haven't seen that much development. So now, if the blockchain technology, when it brings us those use cases, those developments that are so calling for, the adoption is automatic. That's what we're really excited about emerging market. So the gaming industry, it's gonna boom, because I mean the Western part of the world, they have access to their Xboxes, their PlayStations, and be able to go on PCs and download. And they have their bank accounts, really important, Carlos.
Yeah.
They have the bank account, they have the credit cards, they can go in online and make the purchases. But the guys and most of the people in Africa don't have that ecosystem. Even if they have their banking credit card, they can't go into Sony and Microsoft and make a purchase, because some of the banking systems don't operate in that part of the world. But now with crypto, they can easily log into a platform, with the connect their wallets and be able to interact and play with anybody in all parts of the world. So that's something really powerful, and that's why people that are building projects should pay attention to that ecosystem, to pay attention to those markets, because they're ready. They're ready, and they've been yearning for this technology, this advanced development, and to be included in the whole conversation when it comes to blockchain technology. And that's why we're really excited. So there's a lot of important things that are happening in terms of crypto adoption, number of wallets being created each day from that part of the region, and their ability to hop in and join the conversation in the Web3 conversation. So that's why really, really exciting to us. And again, so sorry to call you off, it's not just the gaming. Remember, you see what's happening with Afro beats, being played at the World Cup, and everybody's, everybody's adopting Afro beats now. Imagine some of those, some of those contents now being right for monetization on the blockchain using, So those are just some key examples to throw out there. So that's why we're excited.
Yeah, no, and I love the analogy that you used about the landlines and cell phones. That's a pretty well-known analogy amongst people that study emerging markets. It's a phenomenon that's called leapfrogging. So basically, instead of going through the same steps that, the US or Europe went through, we just go from like 0 to 100 single bound, right? So I always tell people, like, there never has been and never will be a Wall Street of Latin America, right? There won't be a Wall Street of Africa in the traditional sense. We'll just go straight to blockchain, straight to tokenization, right? We won't have the institutions that the Americans or Europeans have. We'll just go to the high tech, which can be it can be an advantage, right? Because it allows you to go with a clean slate mentality in that sense, right? And particularly on the gaming side, as you know, we at DEGA, we are focused on gaming and metaverses because basically because of two reasons, right? One, they're digitally native, so they're a clear target that's ready to welcome this technology. And two, we believe that everything eventually will be gamified, right? Like education, like your health, the way you exercise, everything is going to be about engagement and having game mechanics, right? To be able to capture people. So I think that gaming and art and culture is where we start, and then we're going to expand to the other aspects, right? Obviously, finance is already rolling, and many more things will come, right? Like doing business in general will become completely digitized, and blockchain technology will help us mediate that. So yeah, and in terms of what you said as well, of it being an exciting place. Yeah, I mean, we have the best demographics, right? Emerging markets have the best demographics in terms of projected growth, right? Of youthful people that are willing to be innovative, or willing to take risks, that they still believe they can change the world. Versus some of the developed nations who are, their demographics are a little bit older. They don't want things to change that much. They're a little bit more conservative. They don't want to take that many risks. I don't blame them in the sense that, they're good off, right? They're well off already. So much. But we're hungry. We're hungry because in Latin America and Africa, we're hungry, man. We want to conquer the world. So keeping in mind all the things that we've discussed right now, what are the next steps for the industry? Talking in general, Web3, blockchain, metaverse, what do these industries need to do to push the boundaries in emerging markets? What do emerging markets need to get rolling, to go, at top speeds with these technologies?
That's a good question. I think when you try to answer that question from the tech perspective, you have to factor in. I mean, there's a key word that comes into play for me all the time. It's when we have to talk about, that's another way to rephrase is mass adoption, and we feel like mass adoption needs to happen. It doesn't matter what part of the world, for more people to come into the space, because we need more people in the space. We need more buyers, we need more builders, we need more innovators in the space. And for that to happen, not speaking specifically for, I'm going to touch on, that the African market, but in general is this word interoperability, for chains to be able to talk to each other. There's a lot of chains, the Binances, the Ethereum, the Cardanos and Solanas. I think they're all doing innovative stuff in their own perspective, in their own ecosystem. But I feel like in general, for mass adoption to happen, there should be some type of cross-chain performances that we need to see in the space coming forward. I'm really excited. I know a couple people that are building a couple institutional companies that are working on that aggressively. So really excited, something to look forward to. Talking about Africa specifically, I think at the core, more education needs to be done, more onboarding needs to be done in that space, because as much as we have all the numbers in terms of the youth, the will to conquer, the desire to do all the things that we should do, and the numbers and all that stuff, we still need to, there's a lot of people that still needs to understand the use case of the technology. There's millions of people that are still not exposed to the blockchain. And so that's why I feel like, we're still early, and further investment into education in that part of the world is definitely something that's needed. So to bring more people on, so we want to do more events, more to create more awareness about the technology and what the potentials are. And I feel like looking at the area that we're speaking about, Carlos, I'm sure part of the 100 you could relate to this. The political elites, the political structures, heavily impact on what people do over there. So at some point, in Nigeria, you could talk about some of the political interventions that were made in terms of not, for some reason, like banning Twitter for some reason, impacted a lot of growth that we would have seen, especially with all the creative. So I think the political structures needs to understand the benefits of this technology and be able to, and be in a position to be able to use it to their advantage and how to for the betterment of the people. But for now, I think they see it as a threat. So I think if they understand the use case of this technology at its core and be able to, use it to improve what they're doing, say for instance, I could give you an instance, something that, we're thinking about voting, for instance. We don't have the infrastructure just like the West have to keep accurate count of voting that happens, or polling, for instance. Imagine we had a voting that kind of records every vote on the blockchain, so that we kind of gives people faith in the system. So that's one of the use cases that I think the government can use to kind of show that, okay, there's a lot of potential with this technology. So I think those two big, especially Africa specific, more education and getting the government to understand the use cases of this infrastructure, how they can use it to their advantage in terms of government on a day-to-day, and also how they can use it to better people's lives. So I think there's two key things at the core has to happen for us to see a lot of growth and mass acceleration and mass adoption in that part of the law.
Okay, very interesting. I think I totally agree with you in terms of the educational aspect, but I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong in getting it, but I believe that it should be like a new generation of education, right? Like I would say, thinking more like Duolingo and YouTube tutorials, and not so much, let's say, school reformation, right? Not that school reformation isn't good, but I don't think that it can adapt fast enough to the speed of change.
Yeah, well, when I mean education, I don't mean, starting a class on you have to study university for 6 years for blockchain. No. I mean, we could incorporate that to some degree, absolutely. But when I mean education, it's just like just like peer-to-peer teaching, like what we do, what we've been doing at Nigeria LFC community is setting up in real life events, and when people gather, we tell them about the blockchain. We help onboard them, help them create their wallet for the first time. So some of those things that's education, falls under education. The metaverse is going to be a crucial aspect of that education platform in terms of not having to get people to drive to a particular focus, but they could hop online in the metaverse and be able to learn about blockchain. So education is not necessarily the traditional university, but more like, versatile ways of doing it whereby people don't have to incur additional costs from traveling. They could do it at the comfort of their home, or they could come to an event down the street from them or in a city nearby them if they want to meet someone face to face. But also have the option to read up stuff online, post content on YouTube and all that stuff, and the metaverse is also absolutely non-traditional ways, specifically speaking.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would add is probably one of the things that I think will also help the adoption in emerging markets is when we tie up this technology with specific, let's say, cultural movements, right? In the sense of, things like movements like the ones that liberated, women and gave them, the basic rights. Obviously, we can point out to many key revolutions and transformations around the world that were enabled by technology, right? So I think that blockchain and crypto should not be different in that sense. Like, because we as engineers, we kind of tend to obsess sometimes over the technology, right? We're like, it needs to be 10 nanoseconds faster. And you're like, I mean, that's not even noticeable, right? Like, but it's also important to accompany the tool with a mindset, right? And then those two things together can actually, create impact and change in our societies. So thank you for that detailed explanation there. Emerging markets is something that we're very passionate about in DEGA, right? Almost everybody working with DEGA right now is either from Latin America or Romania or Africa. Some people are from Southeast Asia. So we're very connected, what some people call the global South, right? In terms of geography. So now let's dive into Bionic Owls. Can you give us the full rundown? What's the story like? First off, why did you decide to create Bionic Owls? What are you doing right now? And then where do you want to take it into the future?
Okay, very good. Good question. Thank you. I'm always excited to share the inspiration behind the project and what we're building. So Bionic Owls it's the first play to impact the owl game that we're working on. And the inspiration behind it is that, Carlos, again, I'll go back to my roots. That's where everything starts from. So growing up in Africa, in Nigeria, of course, we play soccer a lot. I'm sure you guys are huge soccer fans. We go out on the street as kids, we'll play barefooted. And, but we'll witness, being a third world country, we'll witness some jungle justices, some things, crazy things happening, like someone being beaten to death in the marketplace for stealing a loaf of bread. And people will just beat the guy to death and people will just go about their businesses like it's normal. And as a kid, seeing some of those gruesome acts kind of drove me crazy. I won't be able to sleep at night. And, I'll tell my mom would say your prayers and go to bed. But prayers didn't really work for me then as a kid, 6, 7 years old. And, and I was taught in school that, when we're learning about birds and the animals, and I thought that owls will sleep at night. I was like, if owls or adults sleep at night, what would they be up doing So as a kid, innocently, I envisioned them to be robotic stealth and, built to fend off all bad guys, and they watched over innocent kids while they slept. And boom, and that's how come I became fascinated about the owl. So growing up, like 25 years passed, and then every now and then I'll find myself chuckle and laugh. I'm like, I remember when you used to be scared and you imagine this crazy owls protecting you. And I was like, that's an interesting story. And I was like, if this owl lived solo, what would it be called? And in my head, I thought of the Night Planet. And boom. So after several years, I started building up the story in my head, this imaginary story in my head of a place where it's very cold, it's always dark, and these birds live there. And fast forward, maybe 30 years from now, I started sharing the story with some of the community members. I told you I was a co-founder of one of the African NFT communities out there, and Nigerian NFT communities. And I started sharing this story with some of the community members. They're like, that's interesting. You might, you have a good story at times, you might want to put it out there for the rest of the world. And I was thinking, how would I put it out there to the rest of the world? And I was like, okay, I started writing out the lore. We have 3 seasons already built out now. And I was like, what would be the best way to share it? Knowing the Web3 community, how communities come together to support a project. I was like, I'll share it in form of a game, and that's how come we have the player impact. Because there's a mental health aspect of what we're trying to address as well. So that's where the player impact came into play, because we're trying to give players the opportunity at the core, have fun with the gameplay, but also be able to choose a course that they want to donate to or support, and be able to play where their earnings will be donated towards that cause to support, say, building an orphanage in Africa, or building a house for the blind or something like that, or donating to natural conservative here in the US and the West. Where the community brings up the proposal to vote on it, they could play to impact that whatever cause they believe in. So that's something that we're really excited about. And ever since then, we've been crafting out the story, crafting out the project, and creating silly videos here and there that we post on YouTube. Now we always have over 10,000 subscribers. People are asking us for, where they can play the game, and we don't have the game developed quite yet, but just based on all the things that we're sharing. So at its core, the project is a play to impact, play to earn game that we're building to give back to some of society, some of the things, especially the mental health is something that we're looking to, give some of our proceeds to. And also there's an AI aspect of the game. AI, we're calling AI assists that would help players throughout the course of the game, kind of monitor and help them out when they're jammed. So at its core, it's a fun game that we're building, and we're having fun putting it together. And where we are at a stage, where the pre-seed stage, whereby we're actually our game demo is actually in development, and we're building it. It's really excited. We can't wait to share it with the community. Q1 of next year, and we're going to be creating a WeFunder page to kind of help us generate some funds. And Q1 of next year, we have a lot of things in store. We're looking at a cartoon, and a comic book. We're looking at NFT drop as well. And we're looking to share play with them or with the community as well. That's the Q1 2023 goal. We're looking to partner with a lot more gaming guilds out there to kind of show them what we're building, and have their community come test what we're building and give us feedback. We're looking to raise additional funds sometime 2023 to kind of grow the project. And for several years from now, we're looking to do a lot with this IP in terms of anime, short movies, and things of that nature. So that's the plan now. But we're really excited to share with the community what we've been building over the past 8 months in terms of the characters and NFTs. The artworks are looking really good. We're going to be previewing that next year as well. And in addition to the game demo, because we wanted to give the community something tangible in terms of milestone that we've done, not just our NFTs, but our NFTs will be digital collectibles that you could use in the in-game system to interact with our game. So yeah, we're going to be releasing 3,600 of them. Q1 of next year. That will be the Genesis collection that people can use as an asset in the gaming environment. So yeah, we're really excited. Just check us out. Tap in with what we're doing and hop on the journey. So yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what Bionic House is all about.
Beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. I believe that when people put their, put love into things is when we get beautiful creations out of it, right? And very interesting that you mentioned, the mental health aspects to it, as well as, that you're going to be doing AI integrations to them. Because one important thing about owls in the lore of ancient Greece was, there were the symbols of Athena, right? They represented wisdom and knowledge. So that's kind of like a funny coincidence there. And in terms of, you mentioned you were going to do anime as well. I don't know if you've seen one called The Silver Hawks. It's one from the 80s. But if you haven't, check it out. Everybody there had kind of, they were using like sophisticated technological suits. And they were like either an eagle, a hawk. I believe one of them was an owl or something like that. So a good recommendation there for you to check it out. No, I'm very glad to hear how the progress is going. It sounds like you guys have a lot of work to do in the coming 6 months. So it'll be very exciting to see all the development you have coming up. Also, happy to hear that your YouTube is doing so well with 10,000 subscribers. That's a real impressive achievement right there. So it's also, let's say, proof that people connect with the story that you're making, right? So
yeah, and not just in YouTube. We're also we have a lot of numbers on Instagram. We're about 60K and almost 18,000 on TikTok, and we get a lot of people asking about, and also our Discord over 3,000 members. So we all have a lot of people asking about the project, where they can go and play the game, and we're telling them it's coming. Yeah, so it's really, and this is also important to point out that we haven't really done any marketing per se. This is just people reaching out to the project.
Beautiful.
Looking to know more about where they can play the game. So yeah, that's really something that kind of proves to us that people want to see more about the project. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. The organic growth is the best kind.
Absolutely.
So, wrapping up to our last questions, Charles, if you had one recommendation to the audience right now that are listening to you, they have their own ideas, their own vision for projects, tools, products, and services that they want to create with blockchain or metaverse technology, what would be the one thing you would tell them that they need to learn before kicking off the project?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Yeah, definitely, man. I think this technology is, it's not just, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. The Web3 space, it's not just the regular technological advancement, right? I think it's better described as a revolutionary shift. And being that it's a revolutionary shift is something that comes, something that comes once, in a long period of time. So, I would really like for people to understand the basics of you don't really have to be a coder, but just understand the basics of the blockchain, how information is stored, keys and all that stuff, and how they, because I watched, initially some years back, I had to go and watch all the videos and how the blockchain technology actually works. How data is stored on the chain. You don't really have to, go into the rabbit hole of this meta solidity code or Rust language and all that. But just understanding the basics of how data is stored on the blockchain. And I think that would help you understand at its core the potential of the technology. And if you understand that, I think that shift will happen in your head, and just like it happened in mine several years ago, that, excuse my language. So you could get the revolution that, oh man, this can solve a lot of problems. So that's how I look at it. I think at its core, you have to understand how information is stored on the blockchain and how, how that impacts our day-to-day life. So that will be my recommendation. I hope that's not too technical, but, I think just understanding the basics of this revolutionary revolutionary movement, how people can interact peer-to-peer without having any big institution in between, is at its core. And that would, the light bulb would go off in your brain, and you'd be able to, apply it to music, fashion, every other thing that we do on a day-to-day. So that's my recommendation.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm sure the audience will appreciate that. And well, this is one of the YouTube channels where they can learn more about the metaverse in general. We definitely touch base on blockchain, and certainly you can join our communities to learn more about that. So wrapping up, thank you very much, Charles, for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I think we touched upon one of the most important points in our industry, right? The focus on emerging market, the importance of, a true story that people connect with, as well as understanding the basics of technology, right? So if people can take away those 3 key points, I think we've done a great job in this session. Thanks to you. And just before we go, where can people find out more about yourself and Bionic Owls as well?
Oh, sure. We're not difficult to find. We're on all the platforms. Just check out our landing page, bionicowls.io, not .com, .io. You can find us on Twitter, on Bionic Owls. Just search Bionic Owls on all the platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're also on Discord, on Telegram. So any of these platforms, when you search Bionic Owls, you definitely be able to find out. You can just Google Bionic Owls. I'm going to pop up like that. And you can follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos about all the sci-fi and things that we're building. And of course, myself, Charles, and number 1 at the end, on Twitter and on Instagram and all the platforms. So yeah, so check us out. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, we'll make sure to link all of those websites below in the description. So you can follow up and stay tuned to what's coming up with Charles. We'll probably be having Charles back here in a few months once we get the chance to see the game release. I'm really excited to play it myself.
Yep, for sure.
And well then, thank you very much, Charles. It was a true pleasure, and best of luck.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and we look forward to collaborating with DEGA, man. I mean, we can always use more dev support from you guys. So just throwing that out.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely get that. We'll get that rolling. But we won't spoil it for the audience today. They'll have to wait up for the next show.
Fair enough.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. See you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.